Hey guys, just a friendly reminder that Democrats and Republicans are only there to serve as the illusion of choice, as they really serve the corporate globalist elites that want to keep you dumbed down, distracted, and complacent so you don't figure that out. And that's why on this independent media organization, we're going to be uncovering that plus a lot more, and how things really aren't that bad, as many people are turning off the propaganda, raising their voice in discontent in the streets in record numbers, and even insiders are refusing to peddle the lies that cause the most havoc in this world. And we're also going to be talking about these monsters being finally exposed, all on a weekly wrap-up news show sponsored by you, the viewer, which you could very easily do on the Patreon alternative Subscribestar, since, you know, Patreon also just punishes people for political speech that they don't like, being tools of the technocratic oppressive state. So we have decided to supplement that with Subscribestar, that ultimately is the same thing but pro-freedom version of Patreon, and it's pretty easy and convenient to use and set up, and also, you know, keep independent media alive, which I hope you guys do. And this link, of course, will be in the description below. Now, okay, there's a lot to get into that has happened that week that is absolutely major, absolutely huge. And one of the biggest things that happened right now that is getting a lot of attention online, but of course is not getting much attention on the mainstream media, is the public resignation of former Newsweek journalist, author, Tariq Haddad, who publicly announced he's quitting this mainstream media rag. Why? Well, because they refused to publish stories about the OPCW leaked emails that this journalist, an actual journalist, collected and wanted reported on, which justifiably should be reported on. And he goes on and says, quote, "I have collected evidence of how they suppressed the story, in addition to evidence from another case where info inconvenient to U.S. government was removed, though it was factually correct." And after coming out with this information and trying to get a quote from his editors, as is standard journalistic practice, essentially this journalist was actually threatened with legal action. Now, of course, he also said that he is seeking legal advice right now for whistleblower protection. And yet again, time and time again, the mainstream media is just being proven to be agents of the military-industrial complex, and I don't say that lightly. I mean, we also had doctored footage just recently coming out by ABC News coming from a U.S. gun range, allegedly showing the Turks attacking the Kurds, which again, nothing happened here, but was just fake video to convince the general public that there was a slaughter of the Kurds happening and that the United States needed to be involved militarily. Gee, I wonder what military-industrial complex contractor that helps out. ABC also is the one that said that their Jeffrey Epstein story, which they hid for over 3 years, suppressed, covered up, aided and abetted the global pedophile child trafficking network with, said that it wasn't up to their journalistic standard. As they're literally doctoring footage to try to get the United States in more war. And again, this new revelation today that came out just once again highlights how the mainstream media doesn't care about truth, doesn't care about peace, doesn't care about doing the right thing, but serves an entity that just wants to murder people. Literally. I mean, this is the brass tacks here. Murderers. People who make money off murder and will lie to do so. This is who Newsweek and the majority of the mainstream media serves, which really makes you wonder why this kind of purge on alternative media is happening, as YouTube is, of course, promoting ABC News, Newsweek, and all these other disdained satanic entities that have a sick, twisted bloodlust for murder. And I don't say this lightly because, again, I don't know if you know this, but the OPCW leaks and letters that came out, all of this goes back to an incident that was highlighted by the mainstream media of an alleged gas attack by the Syrian government against his own people. You've probably been hearing this everywhere. Assad gassed his own people. Assad keeps gassing his own people. A couple years ago, there's no way of avoiding it, as the mainstream media was running with this headline time and time and time again. And the OPCW was supposed to come in there and investigate. And guess what? New leaked emails came out that a lot of the findings were doctored, obscured to create a finding that was favorable for the U.S. military to intervene. And then after this gas attack, which as of right now we're finding out was absolutely not what we were told it is by the media, by the government. We actually found out it was based on all fraudulent accounts and in no way prove and actually do the opposite, that it was supposedly Assad. This incident almost launched us to World War III. And I'm not being hyperbolic with that statement, as again, Russia and China have been on the side of the Syrian government, and the geopolitical complexity of what's happening in that region is daunting, and that single gas incident almost spurred a global event of yet another proxy war that could have been a very hot war between world powers. And again, all the information was doctored, all the information was lied about to you about it. Independent media like this news organization has been talking about it, but our information continues and is suppressed by YouTube. It wasn't when we had record high numbers of viewership, but our messages of warning of these incidences being false flagged, being lied about, well, they're censored from the general public, and they're deemed controversial content that YouTube brags that they cut 70% of Americans watching regarding to time. This is also why, because of this Assad gassing his own people kind of narrative, that the United States military and its personnel are still in Syria, literally guarding oil that is not theirs. It is Syrian oil that the United States has just decided to put their military hardware on, while creating an embargo and not allowing Syria to import any oil. And then why are we doing this? Why? Why are we involved in this situation that all the world powers are in and are facing off against each other with the guns drawn? Well, it was originally to get rid of Bashar al-Assad, but the line we were told is to spread freedom and democracy. We've seen how great that worked in Libya and Iraq and other places. And again, this is important information that's being deliberately kept away from you, censored, downranked, demonetized, so you don't see the truth. And it's only because of you deciding to share this video that someone actually will, and it's more important than ever. With the whole Syria conflict, not only with the previous endeavor in Iraq, but those actions brought the rise of ISIS and other radical Sunni Wahhabis, along with Al-Qaeda and al-Nusra, that the United States fought alongside of. You know, the people responsible for the majority of terror in the Western world, those were the people that the United States aligned with in Syria. And now we have incidences like this major attack that just happened a few days ago, where a Saudi student being trained at a U.S. military installation killed 3 servicemen in an attack that he wanted filmed and propagated all over the world. 12 other people were injured during this attack, as this man's buddies were literally filming it. And the signs were all there. I mean, this guy had a mass shooting viewing party the night before. He was also connected to the 9/11 hijackers. It's also important to note here that 10 other Saudi students were detained for questioning. The people who filmed it are in jail, trying to use that film for propaganda purposes, obviously. But there's also a lot of other Saudi students, quote, several other Saudi students who are missing since this attack that the FBI is scrambling to catch. And definitely not surprised by any of these findings, since of course these terror attacks serve the interest of the control grid police state and the fear-mongering paranoia that the establishment wants you to have, so you give up your rights. I mean, the United States working with Al-Qaeda is nothing new. We're not only talking about in the 70s and 80s when it was countering the Russians in Afghanistan, but even in present day, where even the Associated Press talked about how the United States, which by the way has troops on the ground, is working with Al-Qaeda to battle supposed Houthi rebels inside of Yemen. This is a very similar tactic that was already used in Libya, already a radicalized Islamist hotbed that is a destroyed state that has brought back slavery, all because of Barack Obama's famous liberation of democracy spreading in that region, which again, the United States worked with rebel groups that now have taken over this territory, are radicalized Islamists, and also have a convenient slave market of many Africans who are trying to make it into Europe, where many European politicians are saying that they're going to give them everything if they make it across. A very similar situation has happened in Syria that we just described previously before, and because of the joint work of mainly Sunni Muslims connected to Saudi Arabia, this is why there are Saudi Arabian students in U.S. military installations so they could go fight alongside Al-Qaeda in Yemen. Yeah, that should be the bigger headline here. That's the story that should be running everywhere. But again, as soon as the mainstream media found out that this guy wasn't a white male, they just dropped the story. No one's really talking about this at all because it doesn't fit their narrative that they're trying to propagate onto you. But the bigger truth here is that, you know, this is like the 20th documented historic time that the United States accidentally has been caught working, aiding, and abetting Sunni Wahhabists. I can't... How many times do you have to be caught with the hand in the cookie jar? How many times does this have to happen for someone with a brain to just realize, hey, this is a trend here that is not an accident, like we're being told it is. So we're going to see what happens, and unless we deal with this Saudi Arabian Wahhabist problem, this will only continue on, and more Westerners face the problem of terrorism because of this. Thank you, federal authorities that are now trying to find the other Saudi students that may commit more actions for creating this exact situation that you started. And as all of this is happening, we have the bald, evil villain himself, literally one of the richest people in this world, Jeff Bezos, coming out and saying, quote, that this country is in trouble if big tech turns its back on the Pentagon. So unless big tech supports everything that I just described that has been happening, the bigger war efforts, the bigger lies propagated to you, unless we rage more war, killing innocent people for lies, we're in trouble. And then supposedly he's trying to convince us that, quote, we are the good guys. I mean, this man literally looks like Dr. Evil, trying to convince you with his propaganda that the Pentagon, the military-industrial complex, needs more money, needs more assistance, needs more help. In other insane, megalomaniac, billionaire news, we have new photos emerging of the trifecta of monsters connected to intelligence agencies who do god-awful things and use the state, the Clintons, the police, the government, and the media to all cover up for their evil doings. As of course, we have a new photo showing Harvey Weinstein, Jeffrey Epstein, and the pimp Ghislaine Maxwell all together during Prince Andrew's daughter's 18th birthday. I mean, these are predators, abusers of children. Why would you invite them to your daughter's 18th birthday? I mean, how sinister are these people? Oh, it's my daughter's 18th birthday. Let me invite the biggest pedophile in the world. Oh yeah, sure, that seems like a great idea. Oh, hey, wait, let's bring Harvey Weinstein, who does unspeakable things to other women. Yeah, that's a great idea. Which, by the way, everyone knew about. It was happening for decades. It was a big inside joke in Hollywood. And yet again, something that, again, the authorities, the police that can't be trusted in these bigger cases just completely ignored and let happen. Try to wrap your head around that. And again, it's also alleged that Harvey Weinstein and Jeffrey Epstein knew each other for years, and this relationship wouldn't surprise me at all. We also have a second witness coming forward saying that she did see Prince Andrew with Virginia Roberts dancing, seeing her sweating, which of course is denied openly, which again is just, they're such big liars. And we have to shift our focus, which the media should be doing, but they're not, since they're, you know, pretty much like this with the global child trafficking networks. should be focusing on Bill Clinton, which they're absolutely not, since we even have more information from an alleged private investigator, and we know this because this has been confirmed other times, that of course Bill Clinton was a frequent guest on the Lolita Express, Jeffrey Epstein's pedo plane. And as all this information comes to light, also how Harvey Weinstein used Israeli intelligence agents and a private contracting group known as Black Cube that worked as intelligence to stalk, harass, and stop any of his victims, including stopping journalists from reporting the horrible allegations that are being made against him. And as all that happens, I thank you for supporting this journalistic effort, to supporting some of our other work, to still watching and viewing this video, which means a lot to me. Without you guys, I wouldn't be here. Without your support on Subscribestar, I definitely wouldn't be able to pull off the operations that I've been doing. And only because of your support, I'm still here. And this is why I try to end every single video by saying, I love you guys. Thank you again so much for watching. Stay tuned for more here on wearechange.org.